अभी चालू हो गया. Right, you can take like this.
Yes.
Or you can take this way. Whichever way is it. It's coming? Great. Sorry? Yeah, we can start. No problem. If everybody is there. You can hold this. You should hold like this.
Yes.
Get to the audience. Okay, इधर आप फिंगर मत लाना. फिंगर रहेगा. बैठो.
Welcome back. So we'll start with the first lecture of our workshop. Professor Suryakant Balchandra Bhosle received the master's degree in physics from University of Mumbai in 1976 and the postgraduate diploma in embedded system design from Center for Development of Advanced Computing, Hyderabad in 2002 with distinction. He was a member of Sea Level Measurement and Modeling Committee formed by Department of Ocean Development, Government of India, and a principal investigator of a project titled Development of Float Type Digital Tide Gauge. He worked for 31 years as head of Research and Development Division at Western Regional Instrumentation Center, University of Mumbai. He has published 20 papers and has applied for 2 Indian patents and has completed more than 50 projects. His areas of interest are development of embedded instrumentation for non-destructive testing of semiconductors, biomedical instrumentation, power control equipment, occupational therapy, andrology, and applied psychology. He is presently a lead auditor for internal audits as subject expert and will be putting light on a topic ISO standards used in biomedical industry. Before starting, I would request Bhagwat sir, HOD of Electronics Department, to present a bouquet to
Friends, it is a great pleasure for me to come here and share my experience with all of you. And the way my lectures are, I'll be taking one more lecture that's on 10th of this week, this month. And the number of topics which I would like to cover in these 2 lectures is mentioned here. You can just have a look at the way the lectures are going to flow. Let me see if I can put it in the slideshow. Yes. Actually, this slide should have come later on. These topics which I'm going to cover during this presentation. Can I have a pointer, please? A laser pointer? I need a laser pointer.
yeah.
It must be this. Laser pointer. I don't need a mic. I think I'm loud enough to. I need just a pointer too. Yeah. Hey, mic to यहाँ रखा है. I need a pointer. I don't need a mic. Is it necessary? Do you want a mic? I think I'm quite audible. No need a mic. Right. So the topics I'm going to cover in this workshop is. The first topic is ISO 13485 standard for biomedical devices. The second is going to be pulse oximeter, which is measurement of oxygen saturation level and the pulse rate. Now, the last 3 are the case studies which I'll be discussing. Maybe one of them I can discuss today, and then later on we'll go in depth how to design the equipment within it. Then next is the NPD monitor. This is study of male impedancy, which is either organic or psychogenic, right? Male impedancy. You've got a uroflow meter, the measurement of the urine flow rate and the volume of the urine that patient urinates. This is some of the topics we can discuss in brief. Now, what is ISO 13485? Now, ISO stands for International Standards Organization, and they have made certain rules and regulations as to how you should do your job when you're working in the medical industry. And this is no more this is no more recommendatory, it's a mandatory standard. I mean, you cannot start a biomedical firm unless you have adhered to the ISO 13485 standard. You have to get a certification from the certifying agency that yes, your company is having a certificate. Now, what is meant by recommendatory and mandatory? Mandatory recommendatory is that okay, you may have or you may not have. Mandatory is without this you cannot do a business in any part of the world, including India. They make it compulsory that you must have ISO 13485 regulation. Okay. So there are regulatory bodies which look at whether you have that competence to qualify for an ISO 13485 certificate. This I'll go into the depth and into the subject proper. Let me just let's see. Is it okay? It's working fine.
Yes.
Fair. Okay. The next slide is actually I just want to introduce what I'm doing. I was working with the Western Region Information Center, the head of the R&D division, and was a professor there. This is a department still existing. I just took a voluntary retirement about in 2009 and I started my own activity. Now, right now I'm working as the director of Hansa Embedded Systems Academy in India, and I've set up an international school, international institute in science and technology in US, that is the Boston particularly. And my office in India is in A Wing, Bhaveshwar Arcade. You can always visit my office whenever you want. You can in fact see my office right now live. If you have internet connectivity, I can show you what are the various rooms and what activities the students are doing there. Okay. These are my contact details. You can share it. My Gmail ID, my Skype. I've got two websites, hansaeducation.com and eduhansa.com. I've got on YouTube a channel called Suryakant 9998, and my cell number is here. So you can always contact me whenever you want. You can always drop into my office if you have some specific projects which you would like to do. Right now, I've got 10 students from SND University. They are doing their final year project with me. Some of them are doing implant training. And maybe if anyone of you wants to work with and you need my help in projects, you're almost welcome. Now, my present activities, I'm a project consultant, I'm a project guide, I'm a principal investigator. Innovation is normally what we look at. I'm also an incubator where if somebody wants to start an industry, they can come to my organization and then we can form an incubation cell where you can develop a prototype with our help and then you start your own. I'm a board of studies member of one of our universities. I'm an internal auditor for quality audits of firms which have already got ISO certification. I'm a visiting faculty member, I'm an embedded system designer, and finally we undertake what is known as corporate training. Like there's this organization who wants to train the staff. We conduct courses, and the brochure outside you can tell the different types of courses that our organization conducts. Okay. I'm not the only person who teaches. We have people who are invited from IISc Bangalore and IIT. Right now I'm associated with IIT Gandhinagar, where we are trying to set up an industry there. The final year students they have an incubation cell, and that's where I'm associated with that. Okay. Thought for the lifetime, or rather the education has produced vast population that is able to read, but unable to decide what is worth reading. It's not my statement. Somebody else's scientist has made that. You should know what you should read, just not be able to read. You should be able to distinguish what material you should read and what you should not read. Okay. Definition of biomedical device, I'm not going to do right now. We will go through. Let me give you an example. If you have a cautery machine which cuts the bloodless surgery when you're doing it, you have a cautery machine which cuts and coagulates. That is also a biomedical device. A pacemaker is a biomedical device, and a simple toothbrush is also a biomedical device because it comes in physical contact with the body. Okay, either it can be implanted inside the body or it can just make a physical contact. So including a barber scissor needs the ISO 13485. Technically, yes. People don't do it, that's a different thing, but then it's going to be non-mandatory. Okay, gloves, yes. Gloves also require ISO 13485. Now, embedded biomedical instrumentation, I just want to give a brief idea. What is it? What embedded implies a dedicated instrument with an hardware and software buried, pardon me for the spelling mistake, buried deep into the end product or instrument or a device. That's the called embedded product. Pacemaker is an embedded product. Now, what is the difference? User can only use the device but cannot alter the functionality of the device. You cannot use a Euroflow meter as a pulse oximeter or a pulse oximeter as a Euroflow meter because they have dedicated functions and dedicated hardware and software which goes with that particular product. As against this, a laptop is not an embedded product because you can program it the way you want it to do. You cannot program user cannot program an embedded system. He can only use it. For example, TV remote is an embedded product. You cannot program it. But you can program a TV with the help of the remote control. So digital TV is not an embedded product. Got my point? The remote control is an embedded product. Okay. The user cannot modify the hardware and software which was developed at the time of designing the product. That's what we embedded. And this is embedded, and if it is assigned to if it's targeting some products in the biomedical, then it is embedded biomedical. You can have embedded environmental and so on. We'll just after some time we'll clear Wi-Fi. Okay. Can be, I'll ask you. Okay, what is embedded software? All embedded programs work in an infinite loop. That's most important. They never terminate. Your normal programs like Word, or whatever you do, word processing or Excel, they terminate. But you cannot terminate an embedded program. Because there is nobody to start that program. For example, you put a heart pacemaker inside your heart, inside the body, and if it stops functioning, you are no more. So it cannot stop. So long as the power is provided to the product, it has to continue on the infinite loop. So you have got a while one loop in the C programming, or in assembly you write jump back. That is the statement of what you mean by embedded infinite loop. They do not terminate like the normal program. They do not have instructions like a halt or a software restart. Okay, that's something which you must remember. Embedded software development tools, we have the IDEs, integrated development environment, which has cross-compilers, cross-assemblers, simulators, and debuggers. As against the compilers, assemblers, these are called cross because the target and the host are two different processors. The target could be 8051, and your host could be your normal processor or normal computer. Whereas if you write a program in ANSI C, your target and the computer is the same thing. The program runs in the same machine, but then embedded, the program is supposed to get executed on a different machine, which has nothing to do with the computer. Okay. Next, programming languages for embedded products, we use either assembly, we use embedded C. Remember, it's not the ANSI C, it's embedded C. The difference between embedded C and ANSI C is that embedded C has got a big variables which you can assign, and the ANSI C we don't. Then we have graphical programming languages, or you can have mixed programming like C and assembly. We can have the combination of either assembly or only C, or assembly and C. Graphical programming languages, there's a programming language called G language, which is LabVIEW supports it from National Instruments, and that is icon-based programming. So you can create icon-based solution, and then it generates a C code, and once you generate a C code, you can use a compiler and use that C and get an assembly or hex code that will finally comes to one on target. Okay, this I'm just trying to go a little fast because this is not the main topic. Basically, the G language is non-scripting languages. There's no text. When you're trying to write a program, there's no text there. It's just the icons. So you have to connect the icons by the wires, and then it does whatever it wants you to do. Fine. There's some other new languages coming up in embedded systems, which is called the Python. So that language will finally take over the programming in the embedded systems. Okay, what are the hardware development tools in the embedded product design? You have in-second emulators, ICE, either serial or parallel type, or you have JTAG ICE, which is inside the chip itself, microcontroller. You have got a pattern generators, logic analyzers, mixed signal analog and digital storage oscilloscopes, electronic workbench, host computer, and target board. This is the minimum thing that you must have if you want to design an embedded product for any area, whether it's biomedical or whether it's for psychology or for occupational therapy, whatever the area. Okay, this is as far as the initial introduction to the way I'm going to proceed with the products is concerned. If you have any questions about the understanding about embedded systems, embedded products, it's open for discussion. And I'll actually start with the ISOs after this. If you have no questions, either everything is understood or nothing is understood, we can take it either way. So, since there are no questions, I think I can proceed with the actual topic, that what is ISO 13485. Okay, before that, I'll be taking one more topic as to exactly what I'm trying to do by ISO 13485. We are trying to ensure that there's a consistency in the product quality. It doesn't mean you're going to improve the quality of the product. For example, if some company is making a bad watch and has ISO certification, you're going to consistently produce a bad watch. It doesn't mean that you produce a good watch. If you want to produce a quality of the product, if it's to improve, then you must have a quality system inside this so that it takes the customer feedback and finds out for the customer what exactly is wrong with the present product. Is it affordable for him? If he's ready to pay more money, are we supposed to give a better quality product to him? If yes, then yes, the quality will be decided by the customer. There's no point producing a product which is too expensive for the customer, or no point producing a product which is too cheap and then we sacrifice the quality of the product. So we cannot afford to do that. Okay. So I have a very good presentation from the University of Wisconsin, Dr. Webster. I think all of you must have access to that also. He talks about what exactly we mean by a product accuracy and some of the issues which are related to that. Let me see if there is, okay, this is University of Wisconsin Medicine. Let me see whether it's the same thing. It's a bioinstrumentation. This is worth reading for everybody. I mean, you should really download this presentations and so it talks about measurement systems. Let me see whether I can skip some of them. And in the slideshow, I'm going to start with the first slide. This is chapter 1. What is measurement system as pertained to biomedical? These are some of the topics. We start with all B. They hopefully are related to biomedical devices. Okay. Or biomedical engineering. You have got a bioinstrumentation, biomaterials, biomechanics, biosignals, biosystems, biotransport, and so on. So the biomedical engineers can have a job in a variety of these fields which I didn't mention on the top here. So if you are already a biomedical engineering student, you don't have to worry about a job in IT or a computer. You can get jobs in all these fields. Okay. What do biomedical work in a variety of disciplines? They work in agriculture, botany, genetics, medicine, microbiology, pharmacology, veterinary science, and zoology. All these areas are available for a biomedical engineer to work with. And you can get different pays based on what you're doing. Some of the good industries like Larsen Toubro, Siemens, and HP, they have the biomedical products. Right? They are international standards for them. L&T unfortunately has closed down their division, which was in India, because the number of turnover was not good enough. So you can work in the industry, you can work in government, you can work in clinical institutions or academic research. All these places biomedical engineers do find a job. Okay, exactly when you say that I want to take a project, what you're going to do, you have a problem statement. For example, I want to make a pulse oximeter as a problem statement. Then I'll find out what is the work that has been done already in the world on the pulse oximeter. So that's the review of prior work. And then I'll say what I want to do. I want to make a pulse oxy measurement using A, B, C technique. There could be a number of methods of measuring pulse oxy. I'm going to say I'm going to use technique A, that's my hypothesis. Later on, I do perform the experiments with that, get an empirical result, and try to do some sort of a formulation where, like by curve fitting, if you go to Excel and if you have data, you can do first order polynomial fit or maybe whatever the equation you want to fit, and get an empirical result, but it's not a theoretical result. But that is enough for my product to come in the market. Okay? Most of the biomedical products, unfortunately, do not have a theoretical base of calculations. They first go and get empirical results, try to get a curve, and then find out whether your product is close to the actual expected results or not. So yeah, this is the process we do a project in the biomedical instrumentation. Then we can skip this is a bit of the patient and the. Okay, now this is important here, the sensors and effectors. Okay. Right? Now both these form under the category called transducers. Whenever it is some transducer at the input of the instrument, it is called a sensor. When it is at the output of the instrument, it is called effector or actuator. So please remember, transducer is the general word. It can be either a sensor or it can be an effector. Okay. Now, for example, you are trying to measure the galvanic skin resistance, then the contacts that you put there, ohmic contacts, will act as a sensor and will give you the. In a normal practical case, if you have got a light emitting diode is going to act as a sensor or actuator. The light emitting diode is an actuator, is an effector. But the photodiode, which detects the light and produces an electrical signal proportional to the light quantity, is a sensor. So please make a distinction. A stepper motor is an actuator. It's not a sensor. A loudspeaker is an actuator. But a microphone is a sensor. In a camera, in a mobile phone, the lens which looks at the outer world and produces the light falls on the photovoltaic cell or the area of the CCD, that becomes a sensor. It's not an actuator. But the screen is an actuator. The mobile screen is an actuator. It is not a sensor. So how many sensors and actuators are there in a typical mobile phone? Can you guess? God has given us 5 senses. Touch. What else? Now, what are the 5 senses that God has provided us? Sparsha, we call it as a touch. Then smell. And taste. The tongue has been given to you. So except for the smell and the, what is that? The taste. Everything else is there in the mobile phone. Tactile senses are there. Right? You've got eyes which is looking at the real world. And you've got a microphone which hears the, when you're doing video recording, you've got a mic there. There's also a camera there. And that's sort of. So only 2 sensors which are missing in a mobile phone is the olfactory, that is the, you've got a taste and the smell. So there's an electronic nose already existing in the market. You also got an electronic tongue. So somebody wants to test the beer manufacturing company wants to test the beer. A guy, QC guy will go crazy, he'll go drunk all the day because he'll go to test every type of beer that he drinks. And we don't want that to happen, so we have an electronic tongue there to test the beer. We also have an electronic nose to smell the gases which are like H2S, or we have poisonous gases. We don't want somebody to die because of any like the poisonous gases. So if I add 2 more sensors to a mobile phone, you have a human being, a human companion accompanying you all the time. That's what we need ultimately in life. Okay, fine. So suppose somebody wants to advertise how a biryani, Hyderabad biryani tastes. He can send those waves from the mobile phone, and you can now test that mobile. Or you can see how the smell is going to be for a rose flower. They create a rose flower with the smell.